you suffer with panic disorder or panic attacks, you need to learn 3 things.
You've arrived at the Mental Health Spotlight podcast with therapist Caise.
And the first thing is that you must learn to stabilize. The second is you minimize and you learn. And the third one is you tolerate and you accept. The one, stabilize. So important. If you're whitewater rafting and you are knee deep in the water, head deep in the water, and you're coming up for air and you're trying to breathe and someone's barking rules at you from the sidelines of the river, you're not going to be okay. You need to get some help, get out of the water. You need to at least get to the point where you can do steps 2 and steps 3. So step 1 is to stabilize. And typically that means for a lot of people medication, because a lot of times panic attacks come on, they're so super strong that to be able to manage that on your own, you wouldn't be here if you know how to manage it on your own. So the first thing you have to do is make sure you have a team, make sure you have a doctor, a psychiatrist, find a therapist, get yourself equipped so you can stabilize. Some people can stabilize without meds. Many people need to have some kind of medication approach. The second thing, once you're stable enough to do number 2 and number 3, you have to learn what the heck is going on with fight or flight. Fight or flight is the most natural, safest place for your body to be. It is meant to be there. It's meant to be there when something happens quick and you need to respond quick and the body has to engage. So all that cortisol that comes with fight or flight gets out of your body. It gets flushed. The natural process of fight and flight, super smart. But when you're panicking, chances are you're not really in danger. Most people are not. They're in danger of their thoughts and they're in danger of their own fears about panic. So you're having all of this fight or flight, you're all tensed up, your cortisol's flowing. Learning how to normalize that whole process is huge. Understanding what happens to your body. And then this is a really big one, minimize. Trying to learn how to minimize the impact. So we talked about stabilizing, but minimizing might be learning to use some skills, learning to use some thought skills and some body skills. By minimizing, you're able to then reduce the impact so you can do number 3. Number 3, accept and tolerate. Accept is huge. You will get another panic attack. If your brain has learned to panic, it is not just going to forget. It is its defense mechanism. And what's so crazy, right, is it'll happen sometimes in the same place where it happened the first time. Like, there it is. Oh, it's starting to come back because your thought has already linked itself to that location. But sometimes it's random and you don't even know where it's coming from. There can be this really minute sensation that your brain hooks onto and creates that panic response, that dread, that physical experience, that trying to escape everything that's happening to you. So knowing that it's going to potentially happen means you're not running from the panic. You're not running from what your body might do. You're going to run from real fear. But most people I talk to, when they actually experience what it is that their panic is telling them to be afraid of, it's not really scary. They're not getting hurt. They're not getting ruined. Nothing horrible is happening. It's up here. So that's sort of that anticipatory anxiety that builds up. And that anticipatory anxiety often is because, please don't let me have another panic attack. And then finally, you have to learn to tolerate. You got to sit in it. You got to ride the wave. You have to be able to tolerate what's happening, learn your minimization skills, understand what's going on, tell a different self-narrative about what's happening, and then practice. It's like an exposure therapy over and over and over again, being able to sit in that discomfort so that little by little you start looking at it and go, I see you. And I club yes. I know exactly what you are. You'll also see it sooner. So when you practice these 3 steps, by the time you're on to 3, you'll catch it in those really, really infant stages of anxiety where it just starts to percolate a little bit and you'll be able to smash it before it turns into that volcano that explodes and it's so hard to come down from. Steps 1, 2, 3. When you go on a roller coaster or you do something really cool and scary, maybe you rock climb or you jump off a cliff or you go up to that person to ask them out for a date, you do something that's daring. There is this moment of anxiety, right? It's the same chemicals and processes of fight or flight. And you're sitting there and you're kind of anxious and you're anticipatory, but you're thinking to yourself, I can do this. You might be revving yourself up. Your friends might be revving you up. And you're like, okay, I'm nervous, but I can do it. I can do it. I can do it. And then you do it. And what happens? After all that scary moment, most people go, I got this. I want to do it again. That's dopamine. So when you change your mindset going into the potential for anxiety, anticipatory anxiety, something that's scary, daring, new, unsettling, when you go in with that mindset, you come out with the dopamine. When you go in with this fear, please God, don't let it happen. Please, please don't let it happen. You come out with more cortisol that's just hanging. So what you do up here when you approach that tolerate stage is what's going to give you that more sustainable approach to upcoming potential panic and anxiety. If you like what I'm talking about here, I definitely encourage you to subscribe, to like, to ring the bell, do whatever it is you do on YouTube, because I'm going to have a lot of these tips and all my podcasts are going to show up here. Lots of great resources for you to listen to other people's recovery stories, tips, and providers.
Thanks for listening to the Mental Health Spotlight podcast, helping you hold hope on your recovery path.